Every courtroom has seen difficult people. Some walk in angry, some walk in scared, some walk in broken. But nobody, absolutely nobody, walked into Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom the way Isabella Morty did. Isabella wasn't just wealthy, she was generational wealth. Her father ran luxury hotels across 3 countries. Her mother owned half a fashion empire. And Isabella, well, Isabella believed the world revolved around her. From childhood, people bowed. Teachers gave her special treatment. Restaurants reshuffled tables to seat her first. Every door opened automatically, not because it was electric, but because people were afraid to say no to her. And that was the exact attitude she carried when she pushed open the heavy wooden door of Courtroom 3. Her heels clicked like they owned the ground beneath them. Her purse sparkled brighter than some engagement rings. Her sunglasses were still on, and her chin was lifted so high you'd think she was walking on a runway, not entering a court of law. People sitting in the gallery whispered immediately, "Is that Isabella Morty? What's she doing here? Looks like trouble already." Even Officer Jenkins, a man with the patience of a saint, raised an eyebrow. Isabella didn't sit in the first empty chair. She didn't even sit in the second. She walked straight to the front row, nudged a man with her purse, and said loudly, "Excuse me, this seat looks cleaner." The man stood, startled, and moved. She sat like a queen taking her throne, but today she wasn't above anyone. Today she was just another citizen before a judge. And not just any judge, Judge Frank Caprio, the man known for kindness, wisdom, and fairness, but also for a firmness that could shake the most arrogant souls. The case that brought her here, Isabella, wasn't in court for something small. It wasn't a parking ticket. It wasn't a minor citation. Her case involved something that her money couldn't brush under the rug anymore. 3 weeks earlier, she drove her luxury sports car through a busy downtown street, blasting music, laughing with her friends, and filming for her social media. She ran 2 red lights, cut off a school bus, nearly hit a man crossing the road. When Officer Diaz pulled her over, she didn't apologize. She didn't even look concerned. She laughed. "You're wasting my time," she told him. "Do you even know who my family is?" And when he asked her to sign the citation, she looked him dead in the eyes and said, "Sweetheart, I don't sign anything I don't agree with." That little sentence made headlines the next day. Even then, Isabella expected her family lawyers to take care of it, like always. But this time, her parents didn't intervene. Her mother said, "You're an adult, go defend yourself." Her father added, "You need to learn consequences." For the first time in her life, Isabella was expected to face reality. But Isabella didn't learn. She didn't reflect. She didn't prepare a respectful statement. Instead, she prepared to win with attitude. And that mistake was about to change her entire life. The courtroom awakens when Judge Caprio finally entered. Everyone stood. Everyone except Isabella Morty. She remained seated, arms folded, looking at her phone. Officer Jenkins stepped closer. "Ma'am, please rise for the judge." She didn't move. She didn't look up. She simply said, "Relax, I'll stand when I feel like it." Gasps echoed around the room. Judge Caprio paused on the step that led to his bench. He turned his head slightly, noticing the disturbance. His eyes found Isabella, the only person still seated, her sunglasses still on, her expression dripping with arrogance, her presence radiating disrespect. But instead of showing anger, Judge Caprio simply nodded once and took his seat. The room settled, and then the clerk announced, "Your Honor, the next case, Isabella Morty, multiple traffic violations." Isabella finally stood up, but not politely. She stood up with a dramatic sigh, as if she was doing them a favor. She walked to the podium slowly, deliberately, sunglasses still covering her eyes. Judge Caprio looked at her with calm eyes. "Good morning," he said politely. She didn't respond. She simply blew bubblegum and snapped it loudly. The entire courtroom froze. A reporter in the back whispered, "Oh no, not with Judge Caprio." Judge Caprio's eyebrow lifted ever so slightly. "Miss Morty," he said with gentle firmness, "this is a courtroom, not a lounge. Please remove your sunglasses." She tilted her head, chewing loudly. I prefer them on. He folded his hands. In this courtroom, he said carefully, you will follow the rules. Please remove them. Isabella smirked. Or what? She asked. The room inhaled sharply. Judge Caprio didn't raise his voice. But his silence grew so heavy that even Isabella's confidence wavered. Slowly, defiantly, she removed her sunglasses and placed them on the podium. This moment, this first clash, was only the beginning. Because what happened next, the words Isabella spoke, shocked everyone, and pushed Judge Caprio into one of the most memorable judgments of his entire career. For a few moments, Judge Frank Caprio simply observed Isabella Morty. Not with anger, not with judgment, but with the kind of calm that only comes from decades of understanding human nature. Isabella, however, mistook that calm for weakness. She tapped her nails on the podium, loud, sharp, impatient clicks, as though every second spent in this courtroom was beneath her. Finally, Judge Caprio opened her file. You've been cited for running 2 red lights, driving recklessly, and endangering pedestrians, including a man in the crosswalk. Is that correct? Isabella shrugged. I mean, if you say so. Her tone was sugar-coated disrespect. Judge Caprio nodded slowly. Ms. Morty, do you say so? She rolled her eyes, dramatically exaggerated. I don't really keep track of small things. A woman in the second row let out a tiny gasp. Small things, like red lights. Like people's lives. Judge Caprio closed the folder gently. Ms. Morty, these aren't small things. These are serious violations. You could have killed someone, she smirked. Relax. Nobody died. The room froze. A young father in the back shook his head in disbelief. 2 teenage girls whispered. She did not just say that. Judge Caprio leaned forward. Let me ask you something, Ms. Morty, do you believe rules apply to you? Isabella brushed a strand of her expensive hair behind her ear. Honestly, she lowered her voice as if sharing a secret. Not really. I mean, rules are kind of for regular people. The entire gallery reacted, murmurs, whispers, shocked faces. But she wasn't finished. She leaned into the microphone and said the sentence that would haunt her for the rest of the case. And with all due respect, Your Honor, you're wasting my time. Silence. Pure, absolute silence. Not even the air dared move. Officer Jenkins went stiff. The clerk looked like she might faint. A journalist slowly lowered his camera. Judge Frank Caprio's expression didn't change. He didn't shout. He didn't slam his gavel. He didn't even blink. But his voice, when it came, cut through the room like ice. Ms. Morty approached the bench. Her eyebrows shot up. Why? Because I'm asking you to. She hesitated. Nobody ever summoned Isabella Morty with such quiet firmness. She walked forward, arms crossed, chin high. Standing just a few feet from Judge Caprio, she said, You know, if I wanted to, I could have had one of my family's lawyers come here instead. I don't even need to be here. Judge Caprio tilted his head. But you are here. That means something, she scoffed. It means my parents are punishing me by making me deal with this. This. She referred to the court, the law, the judge, the entire system, like it was all beneath her. Judge Caprio opened her file again and read aloud. On the evening of June 14th, you nearly hit a pedestrian named Samuel Grant. He jumped back just in time. You didn't stop. You didn't apologize. You didn't even slow down. Isabella rolled her eyes. That man exaggerated. People love drama. The judge glanced at her. Drama, she shrugged. Yes, drama, attention, whatever. And what about the school bus you cut off? I was in a hurry. And the red lights? Accidents happen. Twice, she smirked again. Maybe the lights weren't timed properly. Someone whispered. There's no way she's serious. Judge Caprio closed the folder carefully. Then he looked at her with a level of patience that only a lifetime of fairness could shape. Ms. Morty, why do you think you're here today? She gave him a sarcastic smile. To be bored. Judge Caprio stood. Isabella stepped back slightly. She didn't expect that. The judge's voice stayed calm, but the power behind it filled the room. You are here because you put lives at risk. because you believe money replaces responsibility, because you think privilege protects you from consequences, and because somewhere in your life you were taught that respect is optional. Isabella opened her mouth, but nothing came out. For the first time, she looked uncertain. Judge Caprio continued, "Court is not a punishment. It is an opportunity, one I hope you take seriously before life becomes the one to teach you a far harsher lesson." Her lips trembled for half a second, a crack in her armor, but she recovered quickly. She let out a soft laugh. "Your Honor, I've been lectured before. I'm not afraid of words." Her arrogance returned full force. Judge Caprio nodded. "I see." He sat back down, and then he did something nobody expected. He pressed a button. "Officer Diaz," he said, "please bring in the witness." Isabella's confidence faltered. "Witness? What witness?" The doors opened. A man entered, walking slowly, limping slightly. He carried a cane in one hand. He looked humble, quiet, tired. But his eyes were filled with a truth that money could never silence. Judge Caprio spoke gently. "Ms. Morty, this is Samuel Grant, the man you nearly struck with your vehicle." Her face drained of color. Samuel stood before her. And the entire courtroom leaned in, because what he said next would change everything. Samuel Grant stepped toward the podium, his cane tapping gently against the courtroom floor. Each step carried weight, not just physical pain, but memories he had carried since the night Isabella nearly took his life. He wasn't dressed in expensive brands like Isabella. He didn't have jewelry shining on his hands or designer shades perched on his head. His clothes were simple, his posture humble, but his presence, it was stronger than hers. The courtroom shifted. Everyone quieted, sensing that something important, something human, was about to unfold. Judge Caprio nodded respectfully. "Mr. Grant, thank you for coming. Please tell us what happened that night." Samuel adjusted his grip on his cane. His voice was calm, but there was a tremble beneath it. "I was crossing the street after finishing a late shift. I was tired. I had groceries in my hand. The light was green for pedestrians, and then suddenly," he swallowed. "Her car came flying toward me." Isabella stiffened but said nothing. She didn't slow down, not even a little. "I had to jump back so fast I fell onto the sidewalk. My groceries went everywhere." He glanced at his cane. "And I tore a ligament in my knee. I've been limping ever since." The gallery murmured softly. Isabella's jaw tightened. Her fingers curled into fists, not out of guilt but irritation. Samuel looked directly at her. "You didn't stop. You didn't check. You didn't even look back." Isabella lifted her chin. "Well, people jump out of the way all the time. It's not my responsibility if—" Judge Caprio raised a hand. "Ms. Morty, please let him finish." Her mouth snapped shut, annoyance burning in her eyes. Samuel nodded and continued. "When I finally managed to get up, I saw your car disappearing down the road. I remember thinking, this is what my life is worth to her." A woman in the gallery covered her mouth. An elderly man shook his head in disbelief. Isabella, however, leaned into the mic and muttered, "I mean, if he saw my car coming, why didn't he move sooner?" Gasps filled the courtroom. Samuel blinked, hurt flashing across his face. Judge Caprio stared at Isabella with a silence heavy enough to crush stone. "Ms. Morty," he said softly, "I strongly recommend you stop talking." But she didn't. She tossed her hair back and let out a small laugh. "This is getting dramatic. I didn't hit him. I didn't hurt anyone on purpose. I'm the victim here of exaggeration." Samuel's shoulders lowered slightly. His eyes, full of quiet dignity, drifted to the judge. "I'm not here to punish her," he said. "I'm here because maybe, just maybe, if someone talks to her, she'll realize people matter." For the first time, Isabella faltered. Not much, just a flicker. A microsecond of uncertainty. Judge Caprio leaned forward. "Ms. Morty, do you have anything you'd like to say to Mr. Grant?" She crossed her arms. "No." The room reacted instantly, disgust, disbelief, whispers. Samuel nodded sadly. "I didn't expect you to," he said quietly. "But I hoped." He turned to leave the podium, but before he took a step, Isabella spoke again loudly. "Wait." Everyone froze. She looked at Samuel with narrowed eyes. "If you really tore something that night, why weren't you watching where you were going? Crosswalks aren't playgrounds." A heavy, painful silence settled like fog. Officer Diaz muttered under his breath, "Oh, she's done." Even Samuel looked stunned. Judge Caprio inhaled slowly, deeply, a man controlling a storm. He tapped the bench once. "Ms. Morty," he said, voice firm, steady, and sharper than a blade, "this is your last warning." Isabella threw her hands up. "What?" "It's just honesty." The gallery collectively recoiled. "Honesty? No cruelty." Judge Caprio turned to Samuel. "Mr. Grant, thank you for your testimony. Please take a seat." Samuel nodded and returned to his chair, every step a reminder of the pain he carried, pain caused by her negligence. The judge folded his hands. "Ms. Morty," he said, "your lack of remorse is concerning, but the court still needs to review all sides." He looked to the back. "Officer Jenkins, please bring in the second witness." Isabella snapped her head toward him. "Second witness? Seriously, how many people are going to lie about this?" "Ms. Morty," Judge Caprio said sternly, "watch your tone." But she didn't. She leaned forward, eyes blazing with entitlement. "No, I'm done watching my tone. I'm being treated like a criminal for a tiny mistake." "A tiny mistake," the judge repeated calmly. "Yes," she snapped. "This whole courtroom is wasting my time. You all act like I committed murder." No one spoke. No one moved. She had crossed another line, a line far worse than the first. Judge Caprio finally asked, "Ms. Morty, do you believe that your wealth places you above accountability?" She hesitated, but only for a moment. Then she answered with the most dangerous honesty she had shown yet. "I believe money gives options, Your Honor. And some of us have better ones than others." The room exploded into whispers. Even Samuel looked shocked. Judge Caprio slowly closed her file. "Officer Jenkins," he said quietly, "bring in the school bus driver." Isabella snapped again. "Oh, fantastic. More lies." But she didn't know this next witness would reveal something that would turn her arrogance into fear. Something she didn't expect. Something she couldn't deny. Something that would shatter her confidence in front of the entire courtroom. The courtroom had fallen into a silence that didn't feel normal. It wasn't quiet because people were calm. It was quiet because everyone knew they were about to watch something historic. Judge Frank Caprio leaned forward, hands folded, eyes calm, but intense enough to cut through titanium. Across from him, Veronica Hale, the billionaire heiress who believed judges were beneath her, finally sat still. No sunglasses. No phone. No insults. Just a woman who suddenly realized she wasn't as untouchable as she believed. Even her voice, once dripping with arrogance, now trembled like someone trying hard not to break. "Your Honor," she whispered, I didn't mean." Judge Caprio raised one hand, gently stopping her. "You meant every word," he said softly, "and that is why we are here." The gallery held their breath. 1. The entire courtroom waits. People had watched Veronica scream at the clerk, mock the officer, cut off witnesses, call Judge Caprio old-fashioned, say, "I could buy this whole courthouse," and even brag that she had lawyers who eat people like Caprio for breakfast. Now she sat frozen. Behind her, the audience watched with wide eyes, some disgusted, some shocked, some almost fascinated by how quickly power collapses when confronted by truth. And yet, Caprio wasn't angry, not even annoyed. He just looked disappointed, almost like a father watching someone throw away potential. That expression scared Veronica more than yelling ever could. "To Judge Capriobgins, Miss Isbella," he said, "your money is not on trial here. Your character is." A sharp exhale spread through the courtroom. "You came in here believing the justice system is something you can step on, something you can own, something you can bend around your lifestyle." Veronica swallowed hard. "But justice," Caprio continued, "is not something that answers to wealth. Justice answers to truth. A man in the back whispered, "Wow," another woman nodded, clutching her purse. You insulted officers, the prosecutor, this court, and even the people sitting here today. Not one apology, not one moment of humility. Instead, you believed that arrogance was a shield. Caprio paused. Veronica's eyes lowered. Arrogance, he continued, is not a shield. It is a cage, and many people do not realize they are locked inside until someone shows them the door. Veronica bit her lip so hard it almost drew blood. 3. The turning point. Caprio leaned closer, voice calm but heavy. You say you're stressed. You say you're overwhelmed. Fine. Many people are, but none of them come into this courtroom disrespecting everyone who tries to help. His gaze sharpened. You insulted Officer Daniels, a man who has served this city for 17 years, a man who once saved a child from a burning car. Veronica looked up, shocked. She had no idea. And yet, Caprio added, you told him he was a uniform with no future. The officer looked down, embarrassed. You mocked the prosecutor, you mocked the clerk, you mocked me. Not because of our actions, but because you believed wealth gives you authority over people. Veronica whispered, I'm sorry. Judge Caprio nodded, but it wasn't enough. For the sentence that made history, everyone leaned forward. Even reporters stopped writing, afraid to blink. For your violations, Caprio said, you will pay the fine, but that is not the sentence I am focused on. Veronica stiffened. Instead, he said, your true sentence will be 30 hours of community service at a shelter for women coming from abusive or unstable homes. Gasps filled the courtroom. Why a shelter? Veronica asked quietly. Because, Caprio replied, you need to see what life looks like without privilege. You need to hear stories from women who lost everything and still managed to show more kindness than you did this morning. Her eyes widened. You need perspective, Miss Hale, not punishment. You need to remember what humanity looks like. Veronica looked down, her chest rising and falling with trembling breaths. 5. Caprio's last words, the lesson that broke her, and one more thing, he said gently. From this moment on, every time you feel the urge to insult someone, I want you to remember this courtroom. Not because you were fined, but because this was the first place someone told you the truth. The room went silent again. Veronica wiped her cheek, a tear, the first honest one she'd shown since walking in. Caprio nodded once. That is all. Court is adjourned. The gavel tapped, not loud, not harsh, but final. 6. The aftermath, what no one expected. As people stood up, Veronica didn't move. Not yet. Officer Daniels approached her slowly. She looked up nervously, but instead of anger, instead of pride, he simply said, I hope you take this chance, miss. Not everyone gets one. Veronica swallowed hard and nodded. The gallery watched in stunned silence as the woman who had walked in like a storm walked out quietly, almost humbled. And as she stepped through the courtroom door, a single thought echoed through everyone's mind. Judge Caprio didn't punish her. He transformed her. And that is why people call him the gold standard of justice.